In Sweden, impairments are viewed from the point of the environment. That means that no human being is in itself impaired. There are instead shortcomings in the environment that cause the impairment. Thus, it is the environment that should be treated, not the persons. The persons are completely normal and healthy, but they react to an inferior environment. And in Sweden we have a lot of different law texts that regulates this, including the Human Rights Act of the European Union and the United Nations regulations. And this is a very interesting action plan, and in Swedish it says something very important. It says that they should be moved from being patients to citizens.
En Suecia se cree que las discapacidades funcionales no están relacionadas con las personas, sino con el medio ambiente. O sea, no son las personas las que deben tratarse, sino el medio ambiente. Eso también es la opinión de la Unión Europea. Las acciones entonces que se emprenderán serán basadas en esto, en este hecho. Las personas que padecen esta discapacidad no son pacientes, sino ciudadanos, y así deben ser tratados.
This has a lot of implications. For instance, to force a person to quit one's employment or to move from one's home is a very serious legal violation. You are never allowed to do that. And the same goes for children. You are not allowed to discriminate them from their educational rights. Never. You must make their schools accessible. So in essence, it's actually very simple with functional impairments like electrohypersensitivity. They should just enjoy their human rights. Nothing more, nothing less. Or do you not agree? Just think for a moment, if your loved ones have electrohypersensitivity, what would you then want from your country? Or if yourself were electrohypersensitive, how would you like to be met?
Este hecho del cual hemos hablado antes tiene muchas implicaciones. Por ejemplo, las personas tienen derechos, no se las debe forzar a dejar su trabajo o a trasladarse, cambiar de casa. Los niños tienen derecho a ir a la escuela. Los derechos humanos son para todos, también los que padecen discapacidad funcional. En eso estamos todos de acuerdo. Se debe empatizar entonces con este hecho. ¿Qué pasaría si fueran sus parientes, hijos, padres, quienes tuvieran hipersensibilidad electromagnética? Por ejemplo, o ustedes mismos. Así es como debe enfocarse.
Okay, we will then move to some scientific studies about electrohypersensitivity. And if people, and these are from microscopes, images of the human skin. At the top you see the epidermis, the uppermost layer, and here is the rest of the human skin called the dermis. And people with electrohypersensitivity, if they are subjected to computer screens, for instance, all these cells you see here, they will move away. And the interesting thing is that this picture here is a classical radiation damage, which you can get from plutonium, uranium, radium, X-rays, and strong ultraviolet light. But these have only been sitting in front of a computer screen, nothing more. Furthermore, if you look on the classical mast cells, which are the key cell for allergies and asthma and oversensitivities, people with electrohypersensitivity have a very strong activation. Again, a classical textbook image of a radiation damage. These are normal, healthy volunteers, and here are people with electrohypersensitivity. And therefore, it seems as if they just have a radiation damage from different gadgets in our society.
Ahora habla de estudios científicos. Hemos visto la epidermis y la dermis. Entre estas dos capas, las personas que padecen electrohipersensibilidad, las células que hay entre estas dos capas desaparecen. Es un daño clásico de la radiación. Y estas personas lo único que hacían era estar delante de una pantalla. Es un daño clásico de la radiación provocada por plutonio y otras cosas. En las clásicas células masa, en estas personas lo que aparece es una fuerte actividad. Eso es algo normal. Es un efecto normal en las personas que padecen hipersensibilidad, electrohipersensibilidad.
This activation of the mast cells, combined with our knowledge around one molecule, namely histamine, can explain all the symptoms that people with electrohypersensitivity have. It's nothing peculiar, it's just classical textbook explanations based on mast cells and histamine. Mast cells and histamines are of course everyday problems for any doctor. Furthermore, if you just look here and there, if you take normal healthy volunteers that do not have electrohypersensitivity and put them in front of computer screens or ordinary household television sets, they don't sense anything, they don't feel anything, but the cells increase in number as if they would have gone to Fukushima in Japan, but they are still in Sweden and just watching television. And this is after 2 hours. Again, mast cells and their content of histamine.
Esto es algo normal en las personas que tienen electrohipersensibilidad. Si cogemos una gran actividad en las células, si cogemos personas voluntarias que no padecen esta disfunción, esta discapacidad, ellas no notan nada, pero si las ponemos delante de una pantalla veremos que sus células se activan de una forma anormal, de tal manera que ellas están en Suecia, pero parecería como si estuvieran en Japón, donde en Fukushima,
Japan.
En Japón, ¿sí?
This points to that all people are electrohypersensitive, and other scientists have shown that both 50 Hz magnetic fields as well as 915 megahertz microwaves induce the same responses in lymphocytes from healthy and electrohypersensitive donors. So that means that the people with electrohypersensitivity, they react to an environment which we do not react to. And therefore, they seem to be a biological indicator, or the classical yellow canary bird in the coal mine, reacting to something that is dangerous. And we should actually be very, very happy that they have reported that something is not so good, because you will soon see that there are long-term health effects that are very, very scary for the rest of the population. Other scientists have shown, and now again are talking about the human mast cell lines, that mast cells that are kept in cell culture in a small jar in a culture cabinet, they don't like to use a mobile phone. They react as if there would have been an allergen such as pollen or nickel. And I don't know for Spain, but in Sweden, the last years we have had an explosion of asthma, allergies and other oversensitivities. It's just the biggest problem in the Swedish health society right now. It's huge.
Se puede decir entonces que todas las personas tienen electrohipersensibilidad. Las personas que evidentemente tienen esta discapacidad funcional, electrohipersensibilidad, que reaccionan no como otras, podríamos considerarlas, compararlas a los canarios que se usaban en las minas de carbón y que se utilizaban para saber que allí había peligro. O sea que debemos agradecer que estar contentos de tener personas que son más sensibles a estos campos electromagnéticos, pues ellas nos advierten del peligro que suponen. Los científicos han comprobado que a las células, los estudios que se han hecho con células, han podido comprobar que a las células no les gustan los móviles.
You see that on every slide I show the first page of the actual scientific paper, and they are all from peer-review-based scientific journals, some of them of high impact nature. So you see that I'm not sort of making the story up. It's all in here, and the citations are word by word from the actual papers here. In Japan, Hajime Kimata has shown that patients with atopic eczemas, they get worse when they are irradiated by microwaves from mobile phones. So eczema patients should definitely avoid mobile phones. In Sweden, there was various explanations introduced to explain electrohypersensitivity, and many of them was just taken on random out of imagination. But one explanation was that this is actually a mass media driven psychosis. When journalists and reporters write about this, then people suddenly start to feel that, well, I am probably electrohypersensitive too. But it's very easy to control for such mass media driven psychoses because you can use, for instance, rats. And rats, they do not read newspapers. They do not listen to radio. They do not watch television, and still they react dramatically to such exposure. So no mass media at all involved here.
En cada diapositiva que les muestra el doctor Johansson, ustedes van a ver trabajos científicos que prueban lo que dicen en la izquierda. ¿Sí? En Suecia, al principio, hablar